The Veeam Agent for Mac can be managed by Service Provider Console v5. And since the Service Provider Console v5 has GA'd and we're currently in the RTM release for Veeam Backup and Replication version 11, I wanted to send just a quick video out to show everyone the process. So this is going to be like a real-time working session here as I record my screen, and I'll kind of talk you through what I'm doing as I do it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my Service Provider Console instance, and I have pre-created a company that's called timandlisa.com, and I'm going to log in as the administrator of that particular company. Now that I'm logged into the Service Provider Console, I'm going to go to Managed Computers, and I can download the Mac agent. It's going to prompt me if I want to install it. I'm just going to put it on my desktop. And we can see there that it's downloading in the lower left-hand corner. And while we're waiting for that to finish, I'm going to go ahead and open up a terminal session and navigate out here to the desktop. Actually, I will do it this way. Okay, so we can see that the Mac agent packages.sh file is there. So we will install that by executing sudo, and we're going to need to do this in bash, and we'll do /Mac agent packages.sh. We'll put in the local administrative password for our Mac, and the Veeam Management Agent installation will begin. Okay, so it's finished. All right, perfect. So as you can see, it says to run Veeam console config-h to configure the management agent. And all that's going to do is just show you the help file that's associated with this, and you can see what all the different options and choices are. Drag that down here just a little bit till such time. There we go. Okay, so this example is the most important thing. So G is going to be the gateway. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a command that is, again, run under sudo, and it's called Veeam console config, and we're going to do -g add, and we're going to put in our Cloud Connect server and be sure that we add the port 6180 at the end, assuming that that's the default of the Cloud Connect server that you're connecting to. Then we'll add the tenant, and the tenant is in the form of company //tenant. We don't need to put in the password, and then we'll do the --validate_cert at the end. And when we run that command, it'll actually prompt us with our tenant password during the installation. Okay, so one other thing that I just want to show you while we're looking here is you can see that I just installed the Veeam Agent, and now it has the Veeam Agent here in the Launchpad. You can also find this if you were to go to your applications area and scroll down a little bit here, and you can see that there is a Veeam folder, and inside the Veeam folder you can see that for the RTM release that we now have the Veeam Agent for Mac as well as a uninstall routine should we want to remove the Veeam Agent. Okay, so in the later version of OS X, High Sierra and above, it is necessary for you to provide the Veeam Agent for Mac something called full disk access. And we'll see what that looks like here in a minute. And so the order is really not necessarily that important, but what I like to do is I like to go ahead and get that configuration out of the way. So you'll see that I have a couple of machines here. I have a virtual machine that I have run Big Sur in, and I have my actual MacBook Air sitting over here that's also connected. And so I'm going to add my primary machine, the Mac Mini that I use every day, and we're going to expect that after we run that command from terminal, it's going to establish the connection to my Cloud Connect server, which is being managed by this Service Provider Console, and we will actually see that third computer show up here. So we'll run Veeam console config, remember the -G for the gateway, add. My Cloud Connect server is cloudconnect.veeaminnovation.com. We're going to make sure that we add port 6180. And then my tenant, Tim and Lisa, and my username. Again, we can leave the password out here with just a -- validate cert. And it'll ask us for the user, again, the tenant password to connect to our Cloud Connect server. It's going to ask us if we want to trust the certificate, and we'll say yes. Now it'll reload the agent configuration, and I can check on this by doing a sudo veeam console config -h, -s for services, status. I can run veeam console config -s to check the status of the service. And we can see that the connection state for the management agent is connected with the cloud gateway that it's connected to, the tenant and credential that it's using to establish that connection. We can see the version of the agent, and we can also see a status that it is running. And remember now, if we look over here, you can see that I just had this third computer pop up active. In this particular example, I'm running the latest Big Sur 11.3. And so just in this screen, you can see that in the Big Sur category of releases, I've got 11.01, I've got 11.21, and I've also got 11.3 here. Okay, so I can also go to Discovered Backup Agents, and we can also see here from an activation status whether or not that the particular agent has been activated. Now, activation means that it is being managed by the service provider console. And so right now, I can basically do self-service backup on my own. And what I mean by that is I can launch the Veeam Agent for Mac, and I can create my own backup policy, and I can do my own backups. And so let's look at that. Let's go ahead and launch this Veeam Agent for Mac at this point. First time you launch it, you'll need to accept the terms of the Veeam license agreement along with the third-party component license agreements. And we'll click on OK. And it's going to talk about FDA, remember, full disk access. And we can get there by clicking on Opening System Preferences. We'll need to click on the lock that's down here in the lower left-hand corner. Authenticate with the local password here on the Mac and unlock. And we're going to scroll down until we see full disk access. And then on the right-hand side, we're going to scroll down until we see Veeam Agent for Mac, and we'll need to put a checkbox here. It will prompt us to quit and reopen, which we want to do. And then we're finished here. And so I can go ahead and close my system preferences. I can check this box because I no longer need to see this any longer. This is just kind of giving me instructions that we just kind of covered. I can verify that that setting took place by clicking on Open System Preferences again, just in case we want to double check. I can scroll down here to full disk access, and you can see that there's a checkbox there. Okay, so that's been done. And at this point, if I was using the Veeam Agent for Mac with just traditional Veeam Backup and Replication, maybe I was not using the Service Provider Console for central management, then when I create the catch-all protection group in Veeam Backup and Replication, there'd be a config file that would get created in the folder that was specified at the time of the protection group creation. And I could simply browse out to that configuration file, and that would basically have the policy that's assigned for this particular agent. If I needed to do a restore, kind of a self-service restore, I'd have an option here to choose Import Backup, where it would step me through a wizard of identifying the location of that backup file and giving me the opportunity to do some self-service restore. We're not ready for that yet, so I'm going to quit this. And really what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you back from the service provider view here, we need to activate this particular agent. We can do that by clicking on that particular agent here and coming up to activation and saying switch to managed mode. And we'll see that it installs the license key. It will perform the activation and we'll expect it to come back with a date and timestamp telling us that the activation was successful. So we'll give it just a moment here for this license key to be installed and for the activation to take place and for the communication between the service provider console and the Mac agent to sync up. So we can now see that there is a date and time here, February 18th, 7:41 a.m. Eastern Time. The activation is successful. We can also see here that there is no backup policy that's assigned to this. So at this point, we can click on backup policy and we can create a backup policy specifically for this machine. And I can reuse the settings here to create a template, or I can just create a standalone job. So for purposes of this demo, I'll just create a new job. And we're going to call it a Mac agent test of specific files and folders. And you'll see why I'm going to do that here in just one second. So I have two choices here, and this is really dependent on the type of license that's being installed. If you want to use a workstation license, you can have one job per local target and any number of jobs to a cloud repository. I stress the word "and." What that means is that when I choose my backup mode here in a second, and I'll show you that, I'll click on workstation and I'll go next. I'm getting to choose here, what do I want to back up? Well, maybe I want to have two jobs. Maybe I want to be able to back up my data locally, and then I also want to back it up to a Cloud Connect repository. And so if I select files and folders, because my profile is big and I want this to happen fairly quickly, then I get an opportunity here to add very specific directories that I want to be able to back up. So if I open up Finder here for just a quick second, the easiest way to do this would be this way. Okay, this is my local profile. And so in my local profile, I want to be able to back up my, let's just go with the, actually, you know what, I'm going to do the desktop just because there's only these couple files here. Okay, /users/desktop, /tmyers/desktop. Okay, and I'm going to add that. By the way, if you add a directory that does not exist, the backup job will fail. I do have the ability to do some exclusions here. So for example, if I don't want to include that VMX file, I can exclude it. We want to include the VMX file, so I'm basically going to leave this alone, but just to show you. So I could add multiple directories here on the machine of various locations that I want to be able to back up. So I'll click Next, and here's my destinations. So I can back up locally, I could back up to a shared folder, I could back up to a Veeam Backup repository or a Cloud Connect repository. I'm going to go back here for a second. One job per local target and any number of jobs to a cloud repository. Cloud repository. So what that means is that if I choose the workstation, then I can only pick one of these: local storage, shared folder, or Veeam Backup repository, and to be able to back up offsite to a Cloud Connect repository. If I choose the server license, then any number of jobs can be configured to any number of locations. So if I wanted to have a local backup, a backup to a shared folder, and a backup to a Cloud Connect repository, I can do that as so long as I'm consuming a server license. Okay, so for purposes of our demonstration and backing up to a Cloud Connect repository, we can choose either license. And you notice as soon as I change, my options here change. I now see this backup resources that gets added. Notice if I choose backup repository, I've got the dynamic change here to the menu depending on which choice that I select. So Veeam Cloud Connect repository. This is the repository that has been pre-created for me by the service provider because I already have, remember earlier I logged in with the Tim and Lisa tenant in the configuration. You can see that I've been assigned a quota of 100 gig, and in that Cloud Connect repository I have 20 gig worth of free space. I can choose here the number of restore points that I want. I'll lower that to 3. I can also show you some of the advanced settings if I wanted to do active full, if I wanted to be able to do some maintenance or storage. So my storage optimization here, because it is a Cloud Connect repository, I choose WAN target. And I click apply. And I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to type in those credentials that I need in order to connect to the Cloud Connect repository. And I'm going to go ahead and run this job every morning at 12:30 a.m. I'll have it automatically retry. Just a summary of all the choices that we made here. And I'm going to go ahead and click finish. And so now what will happen is the backup policy that we've just defined will now be assigned to my Mac Mini. All right, you can see here it says that it's applying. Obviously the machine needs to be online and available. Obviously it is because that's the machine that I'm currently on. And so we can also click close here. And we can see that there is that backup policy there. So when we go up here to backup jobs, now I've got my Mac Mini. I can see that it's using the server license. I can see that it's never had a successful job. You can see these other two, 1 of 1. I've only ever run one job on the other two, again, just for testing. You can see that there's currently no jobs running. The different backup policies, they all have full access. They're all running the current version of the agent. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off by checking this box and clicking on start. So now we can see that that job is running. We can see here that it has a status of starting. And just one fun fact while we're here, I'm going to log into my Cloud Connect server because I want to show you this job actually running on the service provider view. So if I come over here, you can see that I've got a job name that's the Mac Mini. If I can drag this over just a little bit. Mac Agent test of specific files and folders. It's a cloud backup. The status is active, and we can see that it's currently receiving data under the tenant T. Myers. Okay, guys. So I hope that was useful. Just wanted to show you what this process looks like. This will only take a couple of minutes for it to run because there really is no data there. And then when it finishes, you'll see that this successful job will change from 0 of 1 to 1 of 1, and there it goes. So we've downloaded the package, we've registered it with the Cloud Connect server, we created a backup policy and assigned it to that particular machine. We specified specific files and folders to be backed up. We verified that the connectivity between the Cloud Connect server and the Mac agent running on the local machine was successful. We kicked off the backup job. We saw that by kicking off the backup job using the service provider console, we saw the correlation of that backup job on the Cloud Connect server by connecting to the Cloud Connect server and opening up Veeam Backup and Replication. And we saw that job complete. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is I'm going to, here, I'll do it this way. I'm going to delete this VMX file. And I'm also going to delete that Mac agent packages file. Okay, I'm going to empty the trash on the Mac. And now I'm in a need to do a self-service restore. You didn't really think this video was over, did you? So we're going to do that by going to our Launchpad and selecting the Veeam Agent for Mac. And we can see that now the behavior has changed. Before, it would ask us to import that configuration file or browse for a backup. Now it shows us all of the successful backups that have occurred and, obviously the restore points that are assigned with each one of those backups. So we can see there was a backup and it's got this restore point. And so we're going to go ahead and open that backup because I deleted those two files and I need to be able to restore those two files back onto the desktop before this video is complete. And I'll have shown you essentially the entire process. Okay, so in the little Explorer here, I can browse now to users and my user and the desktop, which was the folder that we protected. And I can see that there are these files. So these two files were specifically the files that I needed. Okay. So I can hold down the Command key and I can bulk select both of these. And I can right click and now you can see that I have the option to either copy these two files because there's two selected, or I can restore them. So I'm going to restore them and I'm just going to say overwrite. I'm going to give it the opportunity to pull that data down from the Cloud Connect repository back to the local machine and place those files back on the desktop where they belong. Okay, the restore is complete. And if I go back and look at my Finder, you can now see that those two files have been put back on the desktop where they originally were. So there you go. Guys, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm a Mac guy by trade. I've been heavily involved in the Mac agent ever since Beta 2 came out. I'll do another video that just kind of really shows the differences between being managed by the service provider console and just traditional non-VCSP Veeam Agent for Mac with the catch-all protection group. Hope this was helpful. Thank you very much.